What's happening, everybody? This is Counselor Curtis. I am doing a show right here for your pleasure and information, mostly entertainment. These tracks are brought to you by Kevin Macleod. Listen, usually I do a show with Jimmy Doan, but he's not around right now because he fell down and hurt himself. So I gotta do it all on my own here, but I'm gonna do what I can do. You're welcome to join me. You're welcome to chat, do whatever you like. I can't see anything right now here. I haven't got it fixed up exactly correctly, I don't think. Let me just look over here, see. Looks like it's going, so I'm gonna keep going. All right. Today is 30th day of March, 2021. In the news, a new infrastructure spending bill, $3 trillion. A trillion here, a trillion there. Pretty soon it adds up. This is just plain theft. I don't know how else you can explain it. If I was to come take the money from you, no matter what I do with the money, no matter what charity I give it to, what good things I do with it, I've taken it from you. That just can't be right. And I know it's very hard to conceive. Realizing that taxes were theft was one of the hardest things. That was the biggest transition for me politically. Because you have to, the problem is, the implication is that all the people before us, right, all the smart people who came up with the whole system, didn't realize that they were setting up a fatal flaw in the entire system. And that is that there's one group in the system, at least one, in fact there's a bunch of them now, who can take money from the other people in the system and just distribute that money to whomever they want. I mean, there are some rules, but at this point, let's face it, there's nothing stopping anybody from spending all of the money. And even if they don't raise taxes, they're just going to inflate the currency. So it's happening. It's theft. The sooner you realize that and get with the rest of us, we've got to get to the point of where the government is basically funded by GoFundMe. If your program is so important, then people will fund it. That's just the way that it goes. If you think there's a social contract, then make the contract. Get the people out there. What do people really care about? That's what they're going to spend their money on. So if you really, whatever your program is, and this way the politicians would have to pander to the people. They would be coming to us saying, hey, I got this great school I want to sell you. And then it would be up to us. And that's really the way that it has to go, because this is just getting crazy here. I mean, with the spending, when the inflation comes and then the interest rates rise, well, it's going to be bad. It's going to be ugly. So then I guess hopefully we'll go back to a gold standard or something. Some kind of money standard. I've said this before, but if you take the dollar out of your pocket, you'll notice it's signed by two people. Two people. Now, that's not just a design. That's not a design. That's there for a reason. It's because that used to be a promissory note, and you can exchange it for something. And when we stop doing that, well, I'm sure you can Google the value of money since those times. So anyway, that's first thing. All right, real quick. Apophis, the asteroid, is apparently going to miss Earth this time around. And NASA has said, there's an article today in the news which said that it won't come back around and be anywhere close, at least for another 100 years. So what do you think about that? Is that right? First of all, was it NASA that was reporting, or was it a reporter? It was a reporter. You didn't hear from the scientists, because I'm sure that the scientists would have put a caveat on there that says, well, unless anything else interferes with its gravitational course over the next 100 years, in which case all bets are off. So what are the odds of that? Pretty decent. The only reason I bring this up is just because, to me, whenever people talk about climate change, and they talk about the environment as a risk to us, the first thing I think about is asteroid impacts, because we still don't have a system that's anywhere near good enough to detect them. I'm sure you guys know about the Tunguska event. You know, this was a relatively small asteroid, meteor, 50 to 150 yards across, basically. It exploded with 30 megatons of force. It destroyed 800 square miles. It flattened trees for 800 square miles. Just to give you a comparison, New York City is 500 square miles. So At any day, we're in danger of one of these asteroids coming into the atmosphere and really just wiping out any metropolitan area just in the blink of an eye. I'm sure you know about the one that hit Russia or came over Russia, 20 miles up, 20 yards wide, 500 kilotons. Blew out windows, destroyed a lot of property, but it exploded 20 miles up, so got lucky there. Now, the good news is there's a proportionality ratio. The bigger the asteroid, the more likely it'll impact the Earth, but also the less frequent they are. Still, the problem is all you need is a little tiny one. This little one that hit Russia, that might be as frequent as every 50 years. If you go into Wikipedia, it still has a pretty good article on impactor events, and it talks about their various probabilities. And this is based on prior impacts. One of the things that you may notice relatively quickly is the angle of attack that the asteroid impacts the atmosphere and the composition of the asteroid have a direct impact on, of course, its momentum, its velocity, and therefore its impact. And those things can vary fairly widely. I mean, there's a lot of rocky asteroids out there, but some of them are made of iron. And if a 10-foot wide iron asteroid entered our atmosphere, first of all, we'd never see it coming. We first detected the very first, we do have a system, okay? There is a system called Atlas, which coincidentally is called, it's the Asteroid Terrestrial Last Alert System. And it might be the last alert. Atlas detected in 2014, I think, the first asteroid that hit the Earth. That was the first time. In 2018, we detected another one, I think. Basically, we're blind at this point. So if you want to fund something, fund the asteroid research program, because literally an Apophis-sized asteroid, we could be informed that within 10 days the entire planet will be destroyed on any given day. That's our technological level at this point is not good enough to pick out these asteroids far enough away for us to defend ourselves. And we don't even have a system in place, Elon, get on this, for knocking the asteroids off course. I mean, that's really, ultimately we'll be able to do that. We'll be able to kind of shoot them out of the way. But we're in pretty serious danger right now of that happening at any time. So, might want to take a look at that. All right. Voter IDs. Let's go down here to voter IDs. Oh, wait, let's see. Wait. No, first, vaccine passports. Vaccine passports. Your papers, please. Here's the question you got to ask yourself. This is a license to be free, essentially. Do you want that? Is that what you want? I grew up watching World War II movies, and there's nothing more scary than watching the Germans approach somebody and say, your papers, please. And then they would hand them the papers, and they would say, your papers are not in order, which of course means you haven't been properly vaccinated, or this box isn't checked, or whatever it is. And then they would arrest them. And you can say that's not where we're headed, but it certainly looks like it. I mean, that's at least one step. It's a big step in that direction. If you're going to tell people that they need vaccine passports to do stuff, and you're the government, that's crazy. That's far overreach. That's unconstitutional. If you are a private business, you have every right to require somebody to wear a bubble suit if you want them. It's your business. It's literally your business. So you can do that. But these vaccine passports, it's amazing that they're trying to one size fits all for that. So, all right. And now, in terms of voter ID, why shouldn't you have a voter ID? How hard is it to get a voter ID these days? Now, I know there's a large segment of the minority population that doesn't have IDs. But get them. Go fucking get them, okay? I'm for long voting periods, like a whole month long. It should be a whole month. Why do we have to do it on a single day? You know, Jimmy wants us to do it on a single day. You got to go down the other day. Why? Why don't we have a whole month? There should be no reason. That way it'll promote people talking about it. Everybody, oh, who are you voting for this month? You know, and then you go do it. And it would just encourage. November should be voting month. And people should have a couple of days off from work, or at least one day off. There should be one official day, the vote day, and then every other time, you know, you can discuss it. But and there shouldn't be any problem with people giving out water You know, I know this. I remember when I went to vote last time, there was people giving out the water, and we have this restriction in our town that they can't be on the same block. But they were, anyway. They were right there, and they were handing out the water. And you do kind of feel like, oh, you know, if I'm undecided, maybe I'll vote for this guy's candidate because he's handing me the water. That's kind of cool. But hey, that's the deal. That's part of the deal. So what? I mean, if you can't refuse somebody water, if you're going to be so influenced that if they give you water, that's going to change your vote, well, it doesn't matter anyway. It just doesn't matter. So it's hard. I understand what they were trying to do in Georgia. I support the ID aspect of that because we're saying we got to, like, if you're going to vote, if you're going to give people the right to vote, and it's going to control something, which, by the way, it controls very little. I mean, voting is such a non-effectual way to do anything. It's amazing, or effective. It's crap. You get to vote. You don't get to vote for stuff. You get to vote for people, and then they get to vote for whatever they want. And you vote for the person because you think, oh, well, there's this one issue that they support that I like, but they can't do that issue by themselves. So you get nothing. You know, people talk about, when I was a kid, I remember thinking, no representation, no taxation without representation. You don't have representation. Do you know who your representation is? Who your representatives are? I don't know. And could you talk to them? Could you really have any influence on them? They have way too much power. And if we defunded the whole thing, we'd be way better off. Let's see. Oh yeah, all the campaign rules are stupid. Funding limits. I mean, who gives a crap who spends what fucking money on what? I mean, it's just stupid. Let everybody spend whatever the hell money they want on the campaign. You can't buy a campaign. We've known that. Trump was the first billionaire to win. There were several billionaires when I was growing up that tried and failed. And if you could have bought the election, they would have bought it. But they didn't. And Bloomberg, think about Bloomberg. You know, he had way more money than Trump. Way more money. So who cares how much money people spend on the campaign stuff? It's just a stupid little trick people use to get people in trouble. All right. Funding kids, not schools. How about that? There's a movement among the states to fund kids as opposed to schools. This is fantastic, really. Except, I mean, really, it shouldn't be funding the kids either, because it's your money. I mean, you should fund your kids, not them, not somebody else. You know, you shouldn't be funding somebody else's kids if you don't have kids. I mean, and they shouldn't be funding other kids. I mean, it's just dumb. People want to educate their kids. You want education? So does everybody else. And you're willing to pay for it. So pay for it and get it. I mean, we should have private schools. I mean, we should immediately sell all of the schools and close every. There should be literally a constitutional amendment, separation of school and state. You do not want the state in the business of educating people. You don't need them. You don't need them anymore, and they just have an agenda. The fact is, they have an agenda. Everybody in the government is in a different group from you, unless you're in the government. I've been in the government. But, I mean, it didn't grant me any special powers, except certain things like health care that was way overblown, and, you know, salary wasn't great for me, but it's apparently really good for lifeguards in California. But the private sector will get things done if you just let it. And here's the thing. Education is the worst thing to have controlled centrally. It's really the worst thing to have controlled centrally. You do not want one person making the decision about how everybody gets educated. What you want are individual schools, individual principals making the decisions. And that way we would have all kinds of variegation among the schools. And guess what would happen? The good ones, the good schools would produce good students. And then what would happen? All the bad schools would emulate the good schools. In like one generation, we would totally revamp the entire school system. Right now, you can't get any damn thing done. I wrote a fantastic little math notation that everybody could use for multiplication, but you can't get anybody to use it because it can't be approved by somebody I can't even get a hold of. So education is stifled right now, and that's the best case scenario, the best description I can offer of it right now. So sell the schools off, and but one good step is at least funding the students, right? All right, so the border. Now, here's the thing, I'm libertarian. In my estimation, I'm not a Luddite. I believe that people add value to society. The more people there are, the more value there is to society. And my proof is that we have more people today than ever before, and we have more stuff and more value than ever before. Why is that? Technology, advancements, skills, techniques. These are things that people develop while they're trying to get ahead. And it spreads the wealth. It literally creates wealth. It precipitates out of the air when entrepreneurs do stuff. And we want as many people as we can get. Whoever has the most people in their group is going to win. Guess who has the most people right now in their group? China. So we're not doing so great in terms of numbers of people. We need a lot more people. Over the history of the United States, the waves of immigrants have fueled this country. And immigrants are particularly good people to have because they're brave, they're strong, they're bold. These are, look, you don't leave your country. I don't care how bad it is. You don't leave your country, all your friends, everything that you grew up with, everything that you knew. You don't leave that unless it's horribly bad. Horribly bad. And unless there's, something decent on the other side of the fence. And so we should encourage it. Literally, from my perspective, I would do a grant amnesty. In fact, I would go further than that. I would offer homesteading. Homesteading with federal lands. I would take lands away from the feds and give it to new immigrants, quarter acre at a time or whatever, not 20 acres or anything. You get a quarter acre. We got enough. We got hundreds of millions of acres, 600 million acres of federal property. We could give out 100 million people. We could homestead 200 million people. And I know people know, well, it'd be 1 billion people. No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be that many. But it could be a couple hundred million. And guess what? We want that many. Now, I know you're saying, oh, this is disruption. Mrs. Jimmy would be like, oh my God, it'll bankrupt the country because you can't pay for them all. Look, we would change that. Like the first thing I would do, if it were up to me, is I would say, look, you can come in as long as you're not a known terrorist or known murderer, criminal, serious criminal, and you sign this waiver that says 5 years, no benefits. 5 years, no benefits. You can get the normal benefits, like there's the road, you can, stuff like that, but, you shouldn't be receiving checks. If that is a good idea for you, if you think that people should receive checks, great. Take your money that I would be saving you off of your taxes and then put it in an envelope and send it down to those people. I fully encourage that. But the more, the merrier is really how our immigration policy should be. We should have absolutely open policy unless the person is a known terrorist. And that really should be the only thing we check. We should swab them, get their DNA, retina scan, fingerprint, whatever it is, and then do whatever background checks we can check, and then bring them in if nothing comes up. So anyway, that's my take for the border. So I don't know what the Democrats are dragging their heels for. If Ronald Reagan can do an amnesty, Biden can't do an amnesty? Of course he can do it. Of course he can do it. Do it. Make it happen, man. All right. Let's see. Maybe that's it for right now. So, hey, what do we do? 20 minutes? Just to test, just to see what's going on here. I know Periscope ends, tomorrow? So, maybe we'll stream from Mellon. And check us out. You can Google Jimmy Doan. Haven't done a show in a couple months because, again, Jimmy's hurt. But I may be doing regular shows myself here. If you got topics you want me to discuss, tweet me, direct tweet me, leave me a message. I don't know how this thing works because I haven't done a Periscope tweet yet, or a podcast, but usually I stream to YouTube. So, if you can get in touch with me, great, and we'll see you next time. Oh, yeah, these tracks. Kevin Macleod. Thanks, Kevin.